For those of you that love talking about animals, from Sci News. Study sheds light on how Miocene predators shared space and food. An international team of paleontologists led by the University of Michigan has studied fossilized teeth of saber-toothed cats and bear dogs found at Cerro de los Batalones in Spain to reveal how the extinct predators shared space and prey during the late Miocene period some 9 million years ago. And now, from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to Creature Guy and Live Prehistoric News. Let's dive right back into the prehistoric news of the day. So, during this time in Spain, we had a lot of large mammals roaming the later Miocene epoch. So, you would have had different species of early relatives of elephants, modern day rhinos. Later in time, you would even have certain species of hippos appear, and as well as many different species of saber-toothed cats. Now, when it mentioned the bear dogs, it's referring to a group of mammals known as the amphicyonids, which are not technically closely
It
related
mentioned
to.
bear dogs?
Yeah, it said studied fossilized teeth of saber-toothed cats and bear dogs,
I guess I
but
wasn't listening.
they're not closely related to bears, dogs, or wolves because technically dogs are a subspecies of wolf. Okay, so let's keep looking. I don't know who this might be up in the tree. I don't think it's a Dinofelis. That's more of an African species.
It's Garfield's ancestor.
Or somebody yeah, that's sad. Um, I don't know who this might be either. He might be a little, amphicyanid.
Well, once lasagna was created, I mean, it was all over.
Yeah, um, we don't talk about that. Or there's a little some sort of, maybe member of Cervidae or deer family in the background. And, a lot of they've even is this supposed to be taking place over in Spain? Possibly. I mean, used to had certain species or early relatives of today's giraffes occur over in Eurasia. Anyway, let's keep moving. There's just several different mammals in this picture. The paleontologists analyzed the tooth enamel of fossil teeth of a leopard-sized Promegantarian agage, lion-sized Macarodus ephanestus, and a bear dog. That's specific. The team conducted what's called a stable carbon isotope analysis on the animal's teeth.
Why do you say that specific?
Well, I was being sarcastic. It should just have a amphicyanid and not a bear dog, even though they're referred to as this because of the way that they might have hunted, as well as the certain physical characteristics of their morphology. So let's keep going. Using a dentist drill with a diamond bit, they sampled teeth from 69 specimens, including plant eaters and predators, 27 saber-toothed cats, and bear dogs. They isolated the carbon from the tooth enamel and, using a mass spectrometer, measured the ratio of the more massive carbon 13 molecules to the less massive carbon 12. Um, so let's take a look at one of the animals that would have existed possibly shortly beforehand. Oh, wait, this actually would have been at that direct time. I was thinking of other relatives. So, this is a member of the macrodontiid lineage of mammals, which is the same group in which many saber-toothed cats belong to. Not all saber-toothed mammals belong to this lineage. You have it where the thylacosmylids belong to, they were marsupials, whereas these are placentals. So, these would not have had a pouch. And even you have to include animals like the musk deer, which
I'm
are
sorry, I can't get past a saber-toothed pouched animal.
oh, yeah. They are quite unique. It's like, why did marsupials all of a sudden decide to take that turn in evolution? It's a smart turn.
Well, it was the last video you did.
Yeah, with the Thylacosmilus. However, that was over in South America. So it is interesting. It's not just possums that ended up thriving in South America. Even large saber-toothed cat-like mammals did as well. So, Mycaridus is about the size of Smilodon fatalis, or the famous saber-toothed cat, though it did have slightly shorter canines compared to its body size. However, they were a bit more robust than Smilodon's canines. And this is also somewhere around, I think, 7 million years before the Smilodon would evolve. And this is over in different parts of Eurasia as well as different parts of Africa where this animal existed. So the horse species that they're taking down here is not a species of zebra, and it's probably not a predecessor either. This is actually Hipparion, which could reach probably around 4.5 feet in height and weigh somewhere between 400 to 500 pounds. So slightly larger on average than the Mycaritis cat.
But he made a tasty meal.
Yeah, I've heard horse tastes really good. So, this is also the skull of the Macaritis cat. So, as you can see, they're much thicker or wider in diameter than the Smilodon fatalis, and as well, um, they're well much shorter. And even when you look at the specific teeth, this skull overall is just much more heavily built than Smilodon. Smilodon is still a very powerful animal. It's just that for some reason it didn't have a very robust skull structure and it was much weaker than other saber-toothed cats, but it's still a formidable animal. Now, in this instance, this is supposed to take place somewhere in, I believe, Europe. This is an early species of bear. This is Indo-Arctos, and probably didn't weigh much more than 400 pounds. Now, the turtles or the tortoises in this instance are possibly one of the largest to ever exist. These are megalokines, which is a species of tortoise that could reach over 2,400 pounds, and it was probably just feeding on different species of vegetation. So let's keep going. Carbon 12. Okay, so let's skip this. Okay. Because the paleontologists can tell what the herbivores ate, they can surmise what their habitat was like. They found that cat species P. ogier and M. afnistis lived together in a woodland area. The predators likely hunted the same prey, horses and wild boar. Well, this is interesting because these types of prey items aren't usually talked about when it comes to saber-tooths. Occasionally, you might hear horses being taken down by different species of Smilodon, but outside of that, it's unheard of. And this is unique to hear from the formation over in 9 million-year-old Spain and with the cat Mycaritis. So, um, and it's a lot of the time when you think of a horse, it's something that's it just seems to be kind of fragile. When in reality, they do put in a lot of power, and especially if you watch how hard it can be occasionally for even a male lion to take down a zebra. These horses also with these animals being much shorter, they're going to be a much stockier, and which is very similar to a zebra. Whereas horses, for the most part, tend to be much more slender and have longer limbs compared to their body size. So they also have to worry about the animal biting them, not just stomping on them and then having to shake them off. Where at the same time they're trying to grapple it to the ground. Now, unlike lions today, which it can take much longer to kill the animal when biting the throat, these animals have the upper hand because of their extended canines, and they're also a bit more powerful set. Now, the wild boar is interesting. This is almost never talked about. Well, I wouldn't say never. It's rarely talked about when it comes to earlier species of Suidae, which is the family of mammals that pigs belong to. They've been around for somewhere over 16 million years. In this habitat, these small saber-toothed cats could have used tree cover to avoid encountering the larger ones. Bear dogs likely hunted antelope in a more open area that overlapped the cat's territory, but was slightly separated. Also, these antelopes that they're talking about are not the regular, 140, 170 pound gazelles. We're probably dealing with antelopes that weigh over 1,200 pounds in many instances. Now, technically, we have antelope today that become even larger, and that wouldn't be the largest back then. Giant elands today can reach over 1,800 pounds. They're about the size of a bull moose in the rut. In this habitat, the small saber. Oh, I already said that. Let's see. These three animals were sympatric. They inhabited the same geographic area at the same time. What they did to coexist was to avoid each other and portion the resources. One thing that you notice when looking at different ecosystems with different types of predators, they don't really avoid each other too much. At least when it comes to seeking food, they might when they're raising their young, but when it comes to gathering food, especially meat, they come into contact with each other often. It doesn't matter whether you're in the Serengeti, Yellowstone, some reserve over in India. It's quite common for predators to be in consistent interactions with each other. Oh, so let's take a look at somebody else. So this is a smaller member of the amphicynodid family of mammals. So this is Daphoenodon. And this individual was possibly an omnivore, but most likely feeding on smaller species of game, at least relative to its body size. This animal weighed over 200 pounds. So it's not the smallest carnivore.
It looks small.
Yeah, he does. And compared to certain mammalian predators at the time, he was. You had also different species of hyenodontids that existed over different parts of North America and Eurasia that could reach over um, what, somewhere around 900 to 1,000 pounds. Now, hyenodonted does not mean hyena. These are very distantly related. Actually, the closest living relative today is the pangolin, even though technically it's not a close relative, but it is related somewhat. Um, these amphicyonids, yeah, they were probably in sort of midsection of the food chain. So they weren't the smallest predators in the area. You had much smaller cats up in the trees. It's still a bit of a question as to whether or not this animal would have had more of a pack hunting structure or was solitary. The same goes for most members of the amphicynodid lineage. Now, when looking at the amphicynodids, the reason also why they're called bear dogs is because they have a bit more of a, it's like they run down their prey like wolves, even though brown bears can too, but they grapple, or it looks like they would grapple their prey items to the ground. So, very similar to the way the saber-toothed cats would have. So that is interesting. It doesn't look like they would have probably bit to the sides of the animal.
Don't
Um,
female lions suffocate the animal?
it really depends on the hunting situation. Um, n- that's usually everybody's thoughts, but there are many instances where they're just biting onto the hindquarters, or maybe that they're trying to open the zebra from the sides. It also differs with the prey animal as well. They're biting the nose. Occasionally, I'd say yes. They
Don't
well,
they take their mouth and put it over the top of their, the other animal's mouth?
that tends to be more common though with buffalo, but yes, they do that with zebras, and I'd say a larger percentage than biting other parts of the body. And it tends to be more common they're biting other parts of the body when there are other individuals. Um, Aside from that, yes, they do that. But with the amphicynodids, it's probably fairly similar. But there's just something. The problem is when comparing animals like lions to, let's say, Macaridus. Actually, the Macaridus actually isn't a bad comparison, considering both lions and Macaridus had a decent length of limbs compared to their body size. Whereas when you look at true saber-toothed cats, so animals like Smilodon, they have very short hind limbs compared to their body size. So the problem is this is horrible for speed, but when it comes to in some instances like just grappling the animal, having a bit of a decent balance, it's um it's much better than these longer limbed individuals. So let's see. The three largest mammalian predators captured prey in different portions of the habitat, as do coexisting large predators today. So, even though none of the species in this 9 million year old ecosystem are still alive today, we found evidence for similar ecological interactions as in modern ecosystems. I don't know how you could compare any modern ecosystem today with the ones that existed back then because there were so many larger mammalian predators, and specifically at this point in time, if you traveled back to the Eocene, Paleocene epochs, even different parts of the Oligocene, somewhere between 30 to 66 million years ago, you're going to have many fewer um, larger mammalian predators in a single area. And then after about 25 million years ago, it just skyrockets in the amount of large mammalian predators. It almost becomes similar to the late Jurassic, where you just find considerable amounts of larger carnivorous dinosaurs and not too many of the herbivores. Oh, so let's take a look at last individual. Now, here is a bit of a confusing sight. So, these two aren't buddies. In fact, this individual is dead. So, I believe this is supposed to be a dead Gomphotheres, which is an early relative of elephants. And this would be Mac, Macagilia, which is an early relative of today's boars, warthogs, red forest hogs.
Why is he sleeping with the elephant?
Because he's looking forward to having just some elephant steak the next morning. So, yes, this would be an omnivore. Would it have hunted smaller mammals? It's very likely. And this is not a relative or close relative of the entelodonts, or animals like Daodon and Telodon. Those are actually very distant relatives of pigs, besides being recognized as the pig from hell or the Terminator pig, they weren't pigs. This animal was. And I think in some cases, it might have been larger than Daodon, so reaching over 2,500 pounds. And it is a true big, it's a member of Saudai, and it lived over in Eurasia somewhere around 11 million years ago. So let me know in the comments who your favorite species of prehistoric mammal is. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know because nothing is better than all animals all the time.